Hello, and welcome to In the Light Growing Your Soul with me, Anna Isabel. I'm an analytical hypnotherapist as well as a psychological astrologer. And I am joined today by Lisa Estabrook, who has created this marvelous collection of oracle cards. So if I just show them to you, they are special. I'm not the biggest user of oracle cards. However,
neither am I.
If I have a deck, there's something special about them. And these are called Soul Flower, the Plant Spirit Oracle. And so a Plant Spirit Oracle. So that is why you're here, Lisa, because they're special. Tell us about them.
Where should I begin, Anna? The deck, I don't use oracle cards much myself either. I'm not a huge oracle card reader. I'm not a tarot reader. It was something that was given to me by the plants. And it was part of my own healing journey. I mean, our healing journeys never end, but that little section of it was a 2-year period in my life where I was, in my early 40s. I was not well, not happy, and just hitting menopause, early menopause, perimenopause. And it's like it was the time that I basically decided I needed to figure out my life, figure out how to be happy. So I've done everything. I knew I'd done everything that I was told I was supposed to do. But the only place that I actually felt really like myself was in the garden. And that had been, through raising young children, that would be where I would go to feel grounded, to feel connected, to feel healthy, at peace, balanced within myself. I would always retreat to the gardens. And it was just an extension of that relationship that I began to then, I used to love to paint. I used to love to draw and do things like that. That was something that was another lifetime ago. And so I picked up my paintbrushes again, and my conversations with the flowers just deepened, really just deepened. And so as I was creating, and I didn't know I was creating that oracle deck until I was about 6 months into creating the oracle deck. And each time I would be working with a flower, I would be working on many, many levels. So I'd be working, physically in my gardens. All these plants grow in my gardens or in the woods around my house. I would be connecting with them on a physical level, but I was also connecting with them on an emotional level as friends. And as you would kind of talk to a nonverbal child, or an animal or a pet, I have running conversations with my plants. And I came to realize during the process of drawing and painting and being in relationship with them, that each one would step up at exactly the right time for what was happening in my life, what was unfolding in my actual life outside of the garden. And so it took me a while to trust, to trust the medicine and the energy that I was feeling and interpreting. But I did ultimately because I have a history of as an herbalist. I've worked with plants my whole life. It wasn't my primary vocation, but in terms of like my own well-being, making teas and tinctures for myself and my family is a big part of my life. And I actually worked as a medicine maker for a local herbalist for a while as well. So it didn't take me much of a leap to move from, the physical attributes of the medicine of the flowers to the energetic medicine of the flowers. It wasn't a huge leap. It was a leap, but it wasn't a huge leap because it really was the synchronicities and the inner knowing was so palpable. It was so powerful that I just knew that I was engaging in something that was much bigger than my mind or my rationale was able to, really kind of get a handle on. So I had to just let go. I had to just let go and do it. And that's kind of like dandelion is on the cover there. Dandelion energy and medicine is around release and letting go. And that's the primary medicine. She's my biggest ally. I've been working with her for so long. And I really had to let go of so many beliefs and layers of and labels and stories about myself and my life and life in general and all these kinds of things during the process of creating this deck. And it took 2 years. It was finished in the summer of 2016, and I actually decided to self-publish it at that time, and I did. And I sold 100 of them, and it began my kind of, I want to say that that was the completion of the deck, but that was literally the start of the next spiral, the next journey, which was then deepening into my understanding of this, and then verbally sharing it and sharing what I'm understanding, sharing what I'm uncovering as I'm working with these plants and as I'm healing this aspect, the aspect of disconnection from nature that I think we're all working on, right? We're all working on to a different, to varying degrees. But for me, I spent 6 years self-publishing it, printing it, selling it locally, and finally then connected with Findhorn, the publisher. And Findhorn in Scotland, that's the center of the plant spirit world. I couldn't really have asked. I've never visited. It's not too far from where I went to school. I went to school in Lancaster University in England, a college there. And it's not too far from there, but I've never visited. But I couldn't ask for a better steward of this body of work out into the world. And so that happened this past spring. And now I'm just, again, it's a big release. It was a big let go of this body of work, let go of control of it, let somebody else publish it. And I'm just sort of showing up now in whatever capacity I can to support the work in the world. That's where I'm at right now.
Maybe a month or two ago, back in this early summer, I had the pleasure of interviewing Ina Duckworth, and our viewers may well remember that she is a herbalist who also works with plant consciousness. And so this is not a new subject entirely to our viewers. And yet, it doesn't seem to matter how much I read about this, talk about this. It seems like the most magical of worlds. The idea that plants could talk to us. And also regular viewers will remember Felicity Warner talking about sacred oils and connecting with plant spirit through the sacred oils. So this is something that crops up from time to time. And as I say, there is something very magical about the concept, let alone the experience.
Right.
So you were talking about the plants showing up when you needed them. So that makes me think of another herbalist who said to me, when I need the right herbs, they just seem to appear, or the right plants, they just seem to appear in my garden for making medicines, etc. And you already have that relationship with them because you yourself are a herbalist. But my question, I guess, really is around this more subtle interchange that isn't about finding the right plant for the right physical medicine, like a tincture or something, or macerated oil. This is something else. So it would be really lovely to hear a bit more detail about how this works.
So that would require maybe, a quantum physicist or something like that. Here's my understanding, and my understanding, comes from my own experience and from my imagination, which I believe is our most powerful superpower as creators, as creative beings. Everything is energy. And we're understanding that more and more, from the scientific world, but from the spiritual world, we understand that. We understand that everything has consciousness. Everything, is alive. It has a life force energy that moves through it. So it wasn't really a stretch to me to believe that I am communicating with the consciousness of a plant, because I have a relationship with it, because I can feel when it's unhappy or not unhappy. I mean, it's not like doesn't have emotions like we have, human emotions. I don't put the human, but like, when it's not thriving, when it's not, when your plants are, wilted and unhappy, and so you notice that. Everybody notices that. Everyone has an opinion about it, and we're all in a relationship with plants already. I mean, you speak of it being really magical, but I feel like without us really analyzing it, we're all in incredible relationship with the plants already. We have our own stories. Oh, that flower reminds me of my grandmother. And you can instantly bring yourself back to a place or a memory of, making daisy chains. I mean, who doesn't know how to blow a dandelion flower head and make a wish? We already have this incredible relationship with nature around us, but we question it all the time. We feel like, because we're trying to connect with the plants in a way that's human, like they don't have a mouth. They don't have a voice. How can I possibly interact with them? Well, I'm like, well, how do you interact with a pet? We know our pets have personalities. We know, what how they are, interacting with the world. We know all that sort of stuff. We don't need to take a scientific degree or a science lesson in order to know how to communicate with our pets. So it comes through our hearts. It's a heart-based communication. We all have these energetic fields that we are interacting with. And you can also like go out into nature. You can walk in, like you can walk in some woods that could feel dense and scary. And that's real. That's real. It feels uncomfortable in here, or you may go somewhere and watch the sunset and just feel just all expansive. And again, there you're connecting in with nature, and you're connecting in with this energy, this life force that moves through everything. So that's what when I'm working with the plants, I'm just feeling that. I'm feeling this love, this incredible, presence from them.
Listening to you,
Mm.
it's made me think of a few things. And
Mm.
those of us who are gardeners, we really care about our plants.
Mhm.
We notice when they're stressed, of course.
Yes.
We want them to thrive, etc. Many of us talk to them. Some of us sing to them, and
Really.
do have this relationship. And the other thing that came to mind was an orchid that was given to me on the death of one of my cats.
Mm.
And that orchid flowered, and it never flowered again until our next cat died. And then it never flowered again until the week in which the puppy who was to become our beautiful dog was born.
Mm.
And I can't explain that, because it never flowered again. And in fact, shortly after it died,
Mm.
it flowered that once more for a number of months, and then I lost it. But that is singularly the most extraordinary experience I've had with a plant. I've had orchids since, and they flower, should I say, normally. um, None of them have ever done anything like that. So it's very difficult to rationalize that.
Yeah, we like to rationalize things, don't we? Humans.
Because we want to make sense of what happened. Could there be any other reason? And the answer is no. Um, it,
you know exactly. And
it,
your heart was so open because of the grief. Your heart's so open.
it was extraordinary.
Yeah.
That it was given to me under a particular set of circumstances, and that thereafter it only flowered around that area of my life, the death of another cat, and then it was like a rebirth, the arrival of our puppy. And this was not, I have to say that there were a number of years in between each of these events.
Mm-hmm.
Of the first cat, there was, I think, about 2 or 3 years in between that and the second time it flowered. Mm-hmm. And then, so this was not regular intervals that could be explained. Right. It was irregular. So that was quite an extraordinary event. But I think many of us also have the experience of feeling that there's something very special about sitting under a tree. We have favorite trees. Ever since I was a teenager, I know where I am because I recognize the trees. Other people, it might be houses, but for me, it's the plants. I'll remember gardens. Mm-hmm. I might remember the number of the house, but I'll remember the garden.
Yes. Yeah.
I can tell you on my route to the woods that I drive to every day with my dog Teddy, I can tell you exactly where to find all the apple trees because they blossom in the spring, and I love the blossom. I can tell you where all the magnolias are. So we have this relationship with trees, many of us.
We do.
They pull us in, don't they?
They do. Nature is holding us on so many levels, and to whatever degree of our consciousness that we are aware of. Nature is holding us and supporting us.
So there you are, deciding to paint some flowers. So when you say that they showed up when you needed them, what do you mean? How did that happen? How did that work?
Okay, so that could be a very complex question, but I think that it's about being aware. I mean, as an artist, as an aware human being, I am always looking at the world around me. I'm always aware of the way the sun is lighting up the trees just so, or the shadows that this tree or this plant's making, or you're just aware of the different colors. You're just looking at the world, always aware of the world. And the flowers and plants have a way of making themselves known to you, even like in the most simplistic way of when they're in bloom. You can't walk past that magnolia tree when it's in bloom without paying attention. They get your attention. They come into your awareness. Now you might be walking down the street and you'll see this magnolia and you're just like, oh, that just reminds me of grandma, or just like, that feels so good. And I want to go and sit with that tree. And then later on, you might be, scrolling through your Facebook feed and somebody's post a picture of a magnolia tree and the thread continues. Or maybe you'll be going into the store and you'll see a particular lavender and magnolia soap right there. And so it's like that you're just noticing the breadcrumbs of when they come into your conscious awareness. And I think magnolia.
So this is almost like omens, signs.
Yes,
so
I think so.
It, and then it's echoed. So
Yeah.
it's city as well. So
Yes.
there's
And so to me, that goes back to that energy idea, because if everything is energy and if everything is frequency and vibrations, if I'm feeling, and I don't know much about magnolia, but let's say I'm feeling grief, and I'm feeling, something is happening in my life, and that might be a real match for that magnolia tree's vibration. And therefore, I will then see that tree repeatedly. And our minds like to go to this place of, like clinical herbalism, this, or the cause and effect, this medicine for that problem. It's not the way nature works. There's multiple flowers and multiple plants and medicines that can support every single frequency of emotional and physical experiences that we're moving through. But I feel like it's a resonant thing. So and I didn't realize this early on. So this is something that I feel I've come to understand on a deeper and deeper level, but where I know like the medicinals of dandelion, and I'm feeling sluggish and I've been ill and maybe I need to have some liver cleansing and so forth. So I'm thinking about dandelion, and then, you'll see dandelion tea and you'll see dandelion flowers blooming and you'll see blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how much do you need to see it in order to take it, to I guess, engage with the sign, engage with the magic of the world around us. So I love that idea that it's magic, but it is frequency and energy. I think it's explainable, and at some point we'll understand it more. But I feel like that's how they show up for me. And I don't need, particularly, in my physical health, a medicine that's growing in the Amazon. I know that whatever is growing outside of my door is exactly what I need for right now. And I feel like there's a lot of spiritual talk too. I mean, like the universe serves up what we need. It serves up what we need. And nature is the universe as far as I'm concerned. There's no differentiation between nature and the universe. So that's what it is. And it's serving up and reflecting back at us always what we need. And so we have an opportunity to look at it from a more human perspective, because we might go, well, I don't know what dandelion means. I don't know what dandelion is, and then we have like the opportunity to explore and get creative and say, well, what does the soulflower deck say about it? What does that herbalist over there say about it? And you get to feel what resonates with you. You get to decide.
listening to you has made me think of the doctrine of signatures, which
Absolutely.
is the core of herbalism as it evolved.
Mhm.
Medicine, it was the recognition that that plants, the appearance of a plant or the qualities of a plant reflected perhaps a planet, the sun, the moon. So that's kind of medical herbalism coming in
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the skull pepper, etc. So we have that tradition very deeply there. So it's made me think about this in this context of that emotional connection. And the other thing is, coming back to the lovely interview with Ina Duckworth, one of the things that she said is that the way plants communicate with us is by us observing them
Yeah.
and noticing things about them. And there have been other herbalists on my other astrology podcast, Lightways at Life Astrologer, who have said exactly the same thing. You have to get to know the plant, the individual plant,
Mhm.
understand what it's like. And it strikes me that gardening is one good way of doing it. If you're a gardener who pays attention to your individual plants and isn't just concerned about design. But you, I think, did something that is wonderful. You painted them.
Yeah.
And for that, you had to look at every detail, which is, I get it, because one of the ways that I started to teach myself about plants was by drawing them, sketching them, and then looking up what they were and their qualities, etc. And so I created my own little herbal to teach myself
Perfect.
about
Beautiful.
plants. It was years ago I was doing that. And it really made me pay attention. So I love that this was, to me, it's like a big entry point for you, because you're engaged with the plant in an activity where you're very relaxed, which means that your mind is open and you're like almost like in a trance state.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like it's not even, it's in, to take it just one ring further, it's not even what you're observing in their physical qualities, it's how it feels in your body. So
Yeah.
it, you can feel, as you're connecting with them, as you're drawing. And oftentimes I create coloring pages for people if they feel like they don't want to draw the plant. But when you're engaged in a direct relationship with them, when you're drawing or when you're coloring, and you create a sacred space and you're coloring, and I ask them, first of all, to hold that intention that you are connecting with the plant that you are drawing and coloring with. And because that's really powerful. And second of all, then everything that you experience, whether it's a random thought, a sensation in your body, and in addition to kind of paying attention to the colors and the leaf shape and all those kinds of things, it's all relevant. It's all part of your relationship. It's all part of what is your relationship uniquely with that flower or that plant or that tree. So it really, it gets us out of our rational minds, actually, our analytical rational minds, and puts us into a state of play. I think, how children play and, how they learn about their world through play. And I feel like that's something that, again, this is a dandelion for me, because I was so serious. I'm so serious in my studies. I want to get it right. I want to make sure I have the properties down and the colors and so forth. I mean, this is something that we are deeply programmed into doing as well, from a very early age. I can't, I'm not an artist. I can't make it look exactly like a photograph, so we have so many layers in that way to uncover and to unearth in ourselves. And I feel like that's a way, just to bring it back to the deck a little bit, that's the way I encourage people to use this deck. It's not a fortune telling thing. It's not something, that is going to tell you how to be, think, say, or anything. But if you're feeling in a certain way and you've got certain things going on in your life, you're vibrating at your own little frequency of what's going on in your life, and you say, what do I need to be reminded of right now? What do I need to be reminded of right now for my own personal growth and well-being? And then you choose a card, and you're going to receive, it's a mirror for you, just like all of nature is a mirror for us. It's a mirror for you to begin to connect in with your own heart and your own understanding of the world. And we for me, this has been a deep empowerment, self-empowerment tool in taking back my own understanding of my own perception of the world. It's like we don't even realize how much our thoughts come from something outside of ourselves, cultural, our family of origin, all the rest of it. And, for me, remembering what is my truth, what is my heart, what is my experience of this world, that's been the gift of working with this deck and working with this oracle, and then learning to trust that. And
we always have many voices,
mm,
and some of those voices resonate with us, and some of them don't, but we have accepted them as as part of us. And I think coming into a quiet space allows us to do a bit of sorting. Which of these voices do I want to keep? And do I feel aligned to? And do I feel speak to me? Do I feel nourish me? Which of these voices challenge me and are useful to me because they challenge me even though I don't like them? And these voices have absolutely nothing to offer to me. And I think that quiet, that's the benefit of coming into that quiet space, because when we begin to sort through the voices, or some people might call it influences, when we sort through those, that's when we kind of find out where we are, which means we then discover who we are and who we aspire to be. And I think that connection that you're talking about as you were painting the flowers was exactly that process.
Yes. Yeah.
Saying, oh, do you know what? As I'm doing this, this is where I find alignment. This is who I am. And then you sort through all the influences and you go, I think these influences were wrong about this.
Well,
and I think these were good. They led me in this direction.
Yeah.
So it's a sorting process as well.
Definitely a sorting process. I feel like the way the nature explains it to me, because this is how I understand the world, is so the process of it, in the process, I discovered I wasn't a victim of my life. I was the creator of my life. So for me, like everything, all those voices, all those thoughts, all the experiences, memories, stories, beliefs, understandings, that's the soil of my life. That's what's growing me. And so I have the opportunity when I'm connecting with the flowers to say, well, that's not actually helping me to grow. That's actually keeping me small, and I'm not helping me to thrive. And therefore I can compost it. So that is, to me, in essence, what the healing journey is as well. I mean, it's not a judgment thing. It's not a judgment thing. In fact, that has been a big part of the journey, is not judging, oh, I'm a bad person, I'm doing this wrong, or, I'm getting this wrong, or, that part I've had to really let go of, because it doesn't serve me. It's not helping me to grow. It's not helping me to, come into a better and deeper understanding of my life and who I am. So then it looks to me, it's just like the going out in the garden. It's like, okay, what do I need to compost now? What do I need to put on that compost heap so that the next cycle of growth, I have some wisdom accumulated. And then the next spiral of growth, I'm like, oh, okay, I've been in this situation before. I've had those unproductive thoughts before. I've had that. And actually that's, I recognize that a lot quicker this time around. I don't need to be controlled by it. And so it's deeply empowering. It's been deeply empowering. And I think that the part that I really want to share mostly is, and I know each flower to me has a personality, and that's kind of the attribution that I put there, and the message from each of them. But the overall energy is just one of incredibly unconditional love. And that's what I feel when I'm out in nature. That's what I feel when I'm watching the leaves in the trees and the clouds go by and hearing the birds sing. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a city or wherever you are, you can close your eyes and you can be transported to that place of just deep peace and love. And that's what I feel emanating from every plant and from nature as a whole. It feels motherly. It feels nurturing. You've got this. You can do this. You can live a joyful life. You are here to live a joyful life. And by the way, look at this Garden of Eden that we get to live on, or within, to explore our lives. And So to me, that was a huge mindset change.
Yeah.
And it took a while, it took a decade, but
Well,
but I feel like I'm no longer a victim, you know, I'm no longer a victim of my life.
no, we are not. We have choices about how we perceive ourselves and the world that we are in.
We have choices, yeah.
And when we start engaging, and then that is incredibly liberating. And I do love the analogy that you gave. So that's very beautiful. And I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to pick up a card and be inspired, as in allowing something else to light up a spark within you. And so for that, I thank you, Lisa, for your beautiful oracle cards.
Thank you. I like to just leave you with the visual, like how it makes us feel to receive a bouquet of flowers.
Perfect. Exactly. That's exactly what I felt when I received these in the post, and immediately was I couldn't wait to open the box and play with them and look at them, and I keep looking back at them thinking, oh, so beautiful. So absolutely a bouquet of flowers. Thank you very much for your time and
Thank you.
your work.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
And if people wanted to, I'm obviously going to put a link to the oracle cards on the description box to this interview. But if people wanted to learn more about your work, how do they do that?
I have an extraordinarily extensive website. It is called mysoulflower.com. I also have a free pick there on the website, so you don't even have to have the deck. You can go, and I don't gather any personal information, and you can play with it. You can pick a card, and then you can deep dive. You can go deeper. I've written about these plants in my life, and there's a big library of blog posts to help you begin your own relationship with the flowers, and of course many products there to support your journey in addition to the deck. So
Wow, brilliant. I can just see everybody rushing to click on the website as I am putting the link in the description box. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your time today.
thank you.
Thank you all for watching. Next time, we're going to be talking about self-empowerment. And until then, goodbye.